All right, I've welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Thursday, August 17th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. So, doing the video a little bit on the early side here, doing the live stream with members at 4:05. But we're, doing this during market hours, obviously, and we're getting a nice little dump here, so we can cover this a little bit in real time. So we've kind of been looking for this for the last 2 weeks. I've been looking for the market to kind of flush out a little bit. Somewhere into this area here, 430, we kind of said 440 to 438 originally, but we kind of just grinded down a little bit. And that kind of lowered those targets a little bit. Now I'm starting to think, we're probably getting a little bit due for a bid. My timeline right now is getting really loud with bears. The bears were quiet for a long time. Seeing kind of the bear feed get a little extended here as markets are dropping. We also have, you can make a case for 3 black crows there on the daily. So maybe we get a bounce here. We are into decent daily chart support in this area. Around that 436 handle, you can see here, like it's a little bit easier to see on the futures actually. But you see that green bar right there. We came back. That's where we reversed. And then, of course, those pivots in there, the spiders and the SPX and the ES are all kind of different there. But right into this area, that's kind of where we broke out from. You get the idea. We chopped there for a month. Essentially, there's the weekly chart. So, I do think there is some pretty good support here. And I think the market is due for a little bit of a bounce despite the fact that, macro picture, again, macro is in not just macro fundamentals or macroeconomics, but on the charts, the macro picture, we're more bearish here. And like I said yesterday, I do think the high of the year is in, but we have had a good slice there. It is OPEX week. We'll see if they bounce it tomorrow here. The market's under pressure. By the way, it's funny, they said, they're blaming this on 0 DTE here. And to be fair, the gamma has been very negative. Delta's been negative since the highs, since we flipped. But, Goldman came out today and said that they're trying to lobby the SEC to ban 0 DTE puts. Not calls, just puts. A little bit hypocritical, right? So they didn't care when they were gamma squeezing us up, every day. But now that we're down, it's not like we're down massively. It's down, we're down 4% from the highs here. Now it's a problem though. So they want to say something now that they're not getting their way. Also kind of scares me because what do they know that's coming down the pipe if they want to ban 0 DTE puts? Additionally, if they do something like that, if you know your history, like banning short selling in any form or hedging in any form is like the worst thing you can do. Short selling causes crashes to stop. It stops the bleeding, right? Shorts cover, and then you get that big oversold bounce here. But in any case, markets here, I think are into a pretty decent support level. We'll try to take you close to the close here. I don't know if I'll be able to do that as I got to get the video uploaded and get ready for our stream, but we are coming just ever so slightly off the low. It's just been a bleed down, a grind down. I've been waiting for this flush. I've been talking about it every day for, really since last Monday. I said, look, I'd love to get a gap and go to the down, or a gap down and turn around Tuesday into this 50 moving average. But each day that we grind it down just makes that price target a little bit lower. And that's why we're kind of, getting that overshoot. Originally, like I said, 440, 438 would be good. But when you grind down and you don't get that vol spike, it makes it a lot harder for the market to put in that V-shaped bottom. Speaking of vol, here's the VIX today up 7.45%. We'll see if that comes into that little pivot there, kind of double top area. Still a fair amount of resistance around 18, but VIX showing a little bit of signs of life here after being pretty much dead for a while. We did have VIXpiration yesterday. It is common to get big moves after that. And by the way, speaking of VIXpiration and OPEX, this is all happening with Vanna and Charm in play. So dealers are buying back stock here. Imagine if that wasn't in play. Now that goes away tomorrow morning. Again, I still think that market's probably due for a bid here. Seeing a lot of things, especially that bear tape, that bear Twitter feed. It's getting a little obnoxious out there. And, kind of like how the bulls were up here. So that's kind of my signal there. And again, just seeing the charts, obviously, we are into some support. I would expect a bounce going into next week. Where we get the bounce to, well, you got the 50 moving average. We've confirmed below that. If we do take that out, the 20 should be res too. And then, of course, this upsloping trend line, which we broke down from. So now we've actually confirmed below that. Usually, surprisingly, third hit of a trend line usually is pretty good for a fake out. Maybe it gets taken out, tomorrow or early next week. But yeah, bears definitely showing up here today, and we're not seeing heavy volume again. Like we got Vanna charm, we've got light volume, so the market's definitely not behaving like it should in August, right? August should be a light volume, float higher, maybe get a little bit of downside, but nothing crazy. But that hasn't been the case this month, and I've kind of warned about that. But definitely getting a little stretched here. Anyways, let's get over to the Qs. So again, we sliced through that trend line there, and now we're kind of into this one as well, slicing through that. Again, some daily chart support here. There's a gap fill at 357.68. Let's take a look here at the low of the day. Basically got there, and then you have that pivot. So again, we've been pointing out these levels here for weeks. We finally got there, and we'll see if the market can get a bid off of them. So there's a little bit of a tail candle. Try to get you closer to the close here. It's about 3:19 p.m. Vol coming in a little bit. I see NVIDIA getting a bid, Tesla trying. Bonds are coming nicely off the lows too as well, so that might help things out. As we can see, speaking another headline, 30-year, or excuse me, the 10-year making a new high since 2007. So I don't think this chart shows it quite accurately, but I believe, and there's our dollar index holding up really well. I believe that printed on here. Well, if it didn't, I saw a headline that said so, so we'll just believe the headline. Anyways, we're at basically highs, double top for yields there. There's the 10-year. I talked about this yesterday. I said this could be the thing that gets the market to panic and kind of flush out. Maybe that is it. So there's the 30-year as well. And again, that's putting pressure on the market, so we'll take a look here tomorrow and see how that plays out. You guys know my stance right now. IWM on the weaker side still, so that's down 1%. Again, take a look at that slice. I mean, this was looking like it wanted to get to 200, and just as quickly as it went up, coming right back down. So escalator up and elevator down. You do have a lot of support with this necktie there of the the 100 and 200 moving average. So we'll see, maybe that gets tagged here tomorrow. Weekly level, big weekly level we're coming into as well. Got to stay above 184.16 on a weekly close. That would be a big negative for the IWM if it got below that. Dow also testing the 50 MA right now, but you have support at where? Where do we have support? 345, right? Okay, so we've been talking about that for weeks now as well. That's hit. And then if we, slice through that a little bit, 343, that's your breakout. But right there, 345, 343 on the DIA. And that's coming down a little bit of volume there. But Dow also down 0.75%, as you'd imagine. Semiconductors down 88 basis points. Look, we're going to take out this low here. Very close, 145.02. That probably, if I had to hazard a guess, might get saved by the end of the day here, as long as NVIDIA can hold up. But a lot of the other semiconductors, AMD under pressure. Take a look at Intel today, getting rocked here, trying to hold that 100 MA. But semiconductors definitely on the soft side. With everything else, we'll see if that can hold 145 there. IGV, this is not a good look here. So again, we talked about this really all week. You got to get back above this 338.87 area. So by tomorrow's close, which you can do, it's OPEX. They might whip everything around tomorrow. Can't rule it out. But you bear flagged here, and then you push through that. So IGV definitely on the weaker side, and we'll continue to watch that. Got to get back above that level by tomorrow. Speaking of on the weaker side and levels, where did the Dow go? Where did the Dow transports go today? 15.6. So we've been talking about that. Low of the day, 15.618 and 50 MA. Where do we get this level? From this failed inside bar that got tested twice, broke out, and now it's getting tested on downside. Here's another reason why the market might get a bid tomorrow. Transports are into support. 1, 2, 3, 3 black crows down. Usually you get a bounce off of that. So again, seeing some signs of support here that the market is hitting, and we're finally seeing that fear start to creep in that I've been waiting for a week here, which we need in order to put in a bounce. Again, nothing's given, but I think probabilities at this point dictate some type of a retrace here. So anyways, bond land, 2-year, that's actually green today on the ZT. If we look at the yield curves, that's continuing to kind of tighten up. So we can see here down, now just inverted by only 65 basis points on the 210, but it is curling back up. Still has a long way to go, but something to keep an eye on. 3-month and 10-year curling back up as well, down only 115 basis points. 5s and 30s basically flat. 10s and 30s, they are actually properly curved, but they are, the yields are starting to normalize a little bit. Usually that's what happens right before a recession. So maybe that's coming down the pipe. We'll see. All right. XHB. Finally, I get to say this broke down down 3.5. Look at that slice. Big move, wiped out. Let's take a look at the weekly. 4 weeks worth of trading in 1 day. So we were talking about the rounded top look, and finally that sliced through that. That will have some daily chart support around 78, 78.25 with that breakout bar. We're finally getting a bit some sell action there. ITB kind of into a little bit of support, 82.50, maybe a little bit lower, I would say, just based on the volume there. So home builders, may even go down to $80 on the ITB, but look at that slice there on home builders. Finally, that rounded top playing out. Let's look at the XHB because that was into a double top. Didn't quite make a new high there. That's got to hold 77.95 on a weekly close. Otherwise, it is lights out for the home builders there. By the way, Warren Buffett just bought, which I think is kind of funny. Anyways, VNQ. This should get into some support here around 80. There's your green bar reversal. Little trend line. I think that's a good support area. It might pierce it a little bit. If we do go a little bit lower, again, 78 is your next level there. But again, short-term VNQ can get a bounce there. But again, real estate just in a world of trouble right here, and home builders finally cracking. It's almost cathartic to see that. You guys know I've been bitching about the home builders for a long time, but yeah, XHP coming in there. XLF here down 70 basis points, so losing that weekly level. So again, lots of bear moves here. Got to get it back above that on a weekly close, otherwise XLF is torched. Back down to this trend line. So again, there's some weakness here. Definitely. It doesn't mean we can't get a bounce. Doesn't mean we're going to go down in a straight line if we don't close or if we don't reclaim these levels. But it's a sign of weakness. Okay, so just I want to make that distinction. Doesn't mean we crash down immediately, but they're negatives. KRE, it to support. This is actually hanging in there. Okay, down just 5 cents. Believe it or not. So that's still holding that weekly level. That's just definitely an uglier sign. You don't want to see that break down any further. We want to see it hold that area by the end of the week. Same thing with KBE. Although this still has a little bit more breathing room. I would say a close above 38 or so, whatever this line is, 38.12. Would keep this pattern intact, but definitely on the weaker side now. Broker dealers here down as well, below the 50 MA. You guys know that should test 480, so we've been calling for that, and that's probably where it wants to go. Maybe it gets a bounce. It's had a nice slice there, so maybe it gets a bounce first. Maybe retest 490, but ultimately that's where I think it wants to go before doing anything else. On to crude here, nice pop here. It did come off the highs, still up 70 cents rather. Retested the 20. I still think this is in backing and filling mode, but you guys know my stance. Energy is strong, and I still like it. Speaking of strong, look at XLE today, up 1.33% in a down tape. So when yields are ripping and crude is holding up, it's not a terrible thing for the entire market. It's a terrible thing for tech. It's a terrible thing for other sectors. But the XLE holding up well, up 1.37. Not a terrible day there. XOP back testing this old little trend line there. But again, up 1.4 in a massively down tape. OIH weaker, down 25 basis points. But this was way overbought. So that kind of makes a little bit more sense there. We'll see. Maybe it takes out this pivot. If it does, it's in the backing and filling mode. I might be interested in buying it if it takes out this pivot. I've been waiting for a correction in this, but it's still holding up, and I still think it wants that 100-month moving average right there around 370 before it's all said and done. Nat gas here, getting a small bounce today, up 1%. Again, holding that level there. We'll see how it does tomorrow. Inventories came in pretty much in line with expectations, so nothing crazy there, but it is into some support around 255, 260 here. We'll see how that shakes out into tomorrow. Dollar index, which we briefly touched on earlier, 103.50 area. This still has a resistance at 103.75, so we'll watch that going into tomorrow. That is a weekly level, so it needs to be closed above on a weekly, not just a daily. Nice rally here in the dollar, and we've talked about this. I said, dollar might get trappy if we close above 102.56 on a weekly, and it looks like shorts are trapped. So dollar index having a nice rebound there. Gold down again. So again, looking like it wants that 1900, maybe even a little pierce of that. There's your 200-day MA, as well as this little pivot low at 1960. Just a nice controlled decline, nothing crazy going on here. It's not like a panic. Again, but the dollar is into resistance, and notice how there's your support level on gold. Dollar's got what? 25, 30 cents more of upside before it hits that weekly level. And the dollar's got $20 on the downside before it hits 1900. So that makes sense there. I would expect some correlation of a bounce and a pullback in both of them respectively there. Silver trying to bid here, but came off the highs. I still think this has one more drop in it. 23 and 23.50 is still resistance here. In the short term, platinum getting a little bit of bid, dropping as well. That still needs to get down to this area. But again, it's hanging in there for now. And palladium also still needs to have one more move lower, if you ask me. And then copper getting a bid up 0.75%, coming, backing off of that 370 level. If it gets above that, I wouldn't rule out 380, 382. But again, you guys know I'm looking for 340. All right, lastly, Bitcoin here. Where's our Bitcoin chart? So Bitcoin backing off a little bit down to 28.1. This has support at 27.5. You see the 200-day moving average right there. The weekly pattern, believe it or not, is still good. You still have a nice inside bar. This is ultimately going to come down to the ETF news. That's really what it is. Are they sucking in shorts before that happens? It's possible. But I would say as long as it holds 27.5, it's probably fine. I don't really see any issues with it outside of that. You got the 200 there. That's kind of you got a good support level right there you broke out of. So we'll see how it trades. I still like the weekly, but it is getting hit with everything else today. We'll see how it does again going into tomorrow. All right, lastly, let's get back over here to the spider. So it looks like we're bouncing a little bit. We got about 30 minutes left. We'll see if they can hold us up here. We did get a little bottoming tail there on the 10-minute. With volume, so that's probably the low of the day right there. We'll see if we can get a reflex bounce. Let's take a look at the daily. Yeah, it looks like they're trying to bounce it up a little bit. Again, I still think we're pretty oversold here. Got 3 black crows on the daily. We're into a good support level. Market should get some type of a bid here. If not, your next big level is right around 430, 431. So that's going to be the big level to test. At that point, I do think you have to get some type of a bounce here. But markets are trying to get a little bit of bid off the lows here, so we'll see how that shakes out going into tomorrow. Remember, it is OPEX, so there may be lots of volatility, lots of game playing. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. Outside of that, we'll see what we got, I guess. But anyways, markets into support. All right, how about this? On the upside, we'll look for 50 moving average back test of this trend line. And again, on the downside, if we do take this level out and push lower, we'll look for 430, 431. How about that? Okay. Anyways, guys, going to wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I will talk to you guys all tomorrow.